Now, I don't think he was prepared for the Democratic lawmakers to ask him the questions they asked him, which was amusing to say the least.
So Matt Walsh was not even close to getting embarrassed by the people on the panel. As a matter of fact, it was quite the opposite. I saw the whole thing. And there were instances where you could have heard a pin drop because they did not know how to answer a simple question. So I do have to give Anna some prompts because she's at least understanding that there are two sides to every story, and I'll show that clip right now.
One transgender teenager testified and said this: "You think that you're protecting people like me, but you aren't. Taking away our medical care won't prevent us from being transgender, but it could prevent us from being safe, healthy, and happy." I want to also note there was another individual who had, again, started the transition process, had top surgery, meaning a double mastectomy, and then regretted it.
This is what a double mastectomy looks like. It's absolutely horrific. Horrific. I can understand that if an adult woman wants to do this because she's got cancer or whatever the case may be, breast cancer. But can you imagine a little girl who's in her teens getting this done? It's absolutely horrific. And that little girl that regrets it, let me tell you something. There is no reversing this. That's it. She's done. And my heart goes out to her. Poor thing. Here's another good clip of Anna Kasparian at least trying to be open-minded about the issue.
So there's one other thing I want to just quickly mention, because again, even though I'm sure just saying this and it's true, it's going to lead to backlash. I don't care. It's really important to get you guys the facts, and I feel terrible when I've said something that isn't 100% accurate. So previously, when we've talked about hormone therapy or the puberty blockers, as it's called, I think I took what some on the left said about it at face value and didn't do proper investigation into it, because the idea is, oh, it's totally reversible, totally harmless, there's no issue with it. That's not entirely true, okay? So the problem is there's very limited research and data, and in the data that we have, in the research that we have, there are some bad side effects, right? So bone density, the impact on bone density is real, and that's a real concern. The other issue is it has some problems with fertility potentially if they're used too early in the person's life, okay?
Okay.
With that said, I just think it's important for you guys to know those details, but it's not up to me or Matt Walsh or any person to make that decision on behalf of transgender individuals, right?
So I completely disagree with Anna here. Absolutely, I get to have a say over whether or not parents are mutilating their children. You can't just cut off your kids' genitals or body parts, okay? It's not cancer, it's an identity crisis. And psychologists have discovered that most kids get over it. You can't cut off a child's body parts because they identify as someone without those body parts. You know, there's something called body integrity identity disorder, where people, even teenagers, feel that they are not supposed to have a limb. They identify as someone that is not able-bodied. Are we going to allow these children to amputate their arms or fingers or a leg just so they could be more in line with what they're feeling at the time? No, you can't do that. Now, this is one of the parts that I told you they would not show you here. This is Matt Walsh asking a simple question to the panel, and all you heard was silence. As dead of a silence as you'll ever hear. And then they tell him, well, we don't answer your questions, you answer our questions. I'm paraphrasing. You'll check out the video.
I mean, do you think that a 16-year-old can meaningfully consent to having their body parts removed? Do you? No?
We do not. Yeah, we ask the questions. It's not you. It's Representative Hammer.
Is it me, or could you have heard a pin drop? Anyways, this next audio clip from, I guess it was a radio show that Matt Walsh had when he was in his early 20s. I'm not exactly sure what to make of it, but let's play it.
Ever since the beginning of time, teenage girls have been getting pregnant. But to all of a sudden act like this phenomenon of girls getting pregnant at a young age that we consider young, 16 or 17, to act like it's a new thing is ridiculous. It's always been that way. Recently, in the last 30 years or so, we decided that that's way too young to start a family. Why?
Again, I don't know what to make of the audio clip. I tried looking for it. If anybody has a link to it, I would really love to hear the whole thing in context, because obviously this has been clipped to make it seem a certain way that matches what they're saying about Matt Walsh. And you never know. It may be true, but it may also be not. And I tend to think it won't be. But if anybody has a link, please send it over. Matt Walsh, I guess, was in his early 20s. And I don't know about you, but I certainly did and said things that were not really great at that age. Even the gentleman that works there with Anna had to apologize for a couple of different things. When he was running for office, I believe, he apologized for denying the Armenian genocide, which I don't know what constitutes an actual genocide, where the cutoff number is, but I think that was the confusion, and I'm not going to hold that against him. And he also said some sort of politically incorrect joke about women who don't sleep with him, which was, I heard the joke, it was funny, it was politically incorrect, but it was funny, and I don't think he should have gotten any slack for that either. In the following clip, they're going to try and make it seem like Mr. Walsh was not prepared for certain questions that the committee had, which was completely incorrect. But I'm going to go ahead and allow the Young Turks to make their point first, and then I'll comment after the video.
But let's get back to the hearing itself. He also got called out for not doing his research, so let's watch that.
Well, the claim that doing the chemical castration drugs or surgery or hormonal intervention, the claim that this prevents suicide or has positive psychological effects down the line is utterly, totally baseless. There are no credible long-term studies that bear that out.
You also stated there'd been no studies. Well, I'm sitting here holding a study from the American Academy of Pediatrics, from the University of Pittsburgh, about the suicidal disparities between transgender and cisgender adults and children. So I think, before you state things, you may need to know all the facts.
I gotta be honest with you, I'm actually pretty shocked that Democrats in a red state are this good.
Actually, they actually are not very good at all. And I'm gonna explain why. Because the paper that he's holding is not what everybody thinks it is. It's definitely not what the Young Turks think it is. The paper that the gentleman is holding up is actually making Matt Walsh's argument for him. The paper itself, I don't see anywhere, I read it, I don't see anywhere where it states that any of these transgender adolescents received hormone blockers or whether they had a surgery. It doesn't really state that. But either way, whether they did or didn't, it still makes Matt Walsh's argument for him. I'll explain why. If they did not receive surgeries or hormone blockers, what that means is that there are no long-term studies, because this would not be it, because they did not receive hormone blockers or surgeries. So this invalidates the gentleman's assumption that this was a long-term study for adolescents who have gone through these procedures. If they did, it still makes Matt Walsh's argument for him, because if they did receive these hormone blockers or went through these procedures, the conclusion of the study is that transgender adolescents had a higher risk for suicidal ideation and attempt, which again proves Matt's point. Another thing to point out is that If you actually watch the full video in context, you'll see that they don't even allow Matt Walsh to respond. And here's that video clip.
I think, before you state things, you may need to know all the facts. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is that? Can I respond?
Chairman.
They ended the session without allowing him to respond. Well, what else can I say? The Young Turks, again, they're just spinning and spinning. In the following clip, Mr. Cenk Uygur is basically making fun of Matt Walsh's lack of a degree or background on a particular subject that involves medical procedures. Well, as far as I'm concerned, when you cut somebody open in this particular way, you don't need a medical degree. You need common sense. But let's hear Mr. Cenk Uygur explain it in his own words.
No, they were great. I'd take them over the National Democrats in a second. No, so Matt Walsh, of course, everything is a victimhood with the right wing. It's like, oh, you guys are making fun of my education. He didn't say it in those words, but basically he was implying that. I don't know if he graduated kindergarten. I don't know. I don't think he went to college. I'm not sure if he finished high school. I don't know what his story is, right? But I don't care about that. And guys, we've talked about this here before. I've hired tons of people without ever asking what college they went to, because I don't give a damn. What I care about is the size of the fight in the dog, okay? If you got passion and you're smart, that's what I care about. So this isn't about education shaming. But dude, you're not a doctor, okay? He's like, I kind of looked at the studies and I decided that they were chopping people up left and right because I'm so freaking smart, right? No, you're not. You're a moron. And you don't know anything about science. You didn't study any of it. And so you coming in going, oh yeah, but I eyeballed it, man. I eyeballed it. It's not really convincing.
I'm not sure what's wrong with reading a study and using common sense to discern what it means in the study and actually formulate an opinion. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think you need a medical degree. I mean, I'm sure some papers may require you to have a lot more knowledge about a particular subject, but when you're cutting people open, I understand what a scalpel does. I understand how a human being is left after that procedure, right? And I would say to Mr. Uygur, where's your medical degree? I mean, you have formulated an opinion based on what other doctors say and what you've read. No different than what Matt Walsh has done. Here's another attempt at the Young Turks trying to make Matt Walsh look bad, but it's ridiculous. What they're going to talk about is basically a non-starter. Here's the video.
Another representative went so far as to accuse Matt Walsh of exploiting this very serious issue for clicks. Let's watch.
What purpose do you conduct your research and use this brain of yours?
Mr. Walsh, you're recognized.
I use it for the purpose of trying to protect children from being castrated and mutilated. That's one of the things I try to do.
You don't use it to, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You don't use it to get clicks on your publication?
Well, are you using it right now to try to get clicks with this interaction?
Yeah, okay, he's not a talk show host, you are.
Basically what they're implying is if you're a talk show host, if you make money off of having an opinion, you can't actually make your opinion known in a public forum, which is ridiculous. You know, they're doing it. Do they care? Or is it just so the Young Turks can make some money? Of course, I believe they care. I think they're on the wrong side. But to state that you cannot go before a legislature or Congress to state your opinion as a citizen of the United States just because you have a talk show or you make money on YouTube or whatever the case may be is ridiculous. It's a non-starter. It's petty. All right, here's another clip where I guess Matt Walsh talks about some Singaporean law where they cane, I guess, drug dealers or thieves, or I think they kill drug dealers. So here we go.
Finally, we end with something that's unrelated, kind of unrelated. Anyway, he gets asked about his comments on Singapore. Let's watch.
I'll just have to question, some of your public policy, expertise when, I'm reading here, Singapore is able to have nice things in part because they execute drug dealers by hanging and arrest even petty vandals and thieves and beat them with a cane until they bleed. We don't have nice things here because we aren't willing to do what is required to maintain them. So, you know, with statements like that, I kind of have to question your public policy beliefs.
Man, they really came prepared.
I mean, corporal punishment, whether it's death or caning, whatever it's called, that is not excessive. I mean, we take people's entire lives away from them for the rest of their lives and confine them to a rectangle or square where they're abused by other, gang members or prison guards or whatever the case may be. We actually do need reform in our prisons, but the Young Turks have it wrong, and possibly Matt Walsh as well. I probably disagree with him on this subject, but the important thing about this video is exposing how the media will spin things and they will ignore the facts so long as they win, even though they're lying or spinning.
I didn't even know he said that about Singapore.
Hey, National Democrats, go down to Tennessee. Check out the Tennessee Democrats, because apparently they're willing to kick some ass and take some names.
So, judging by this video, I 100% agree with Anna that she didn't know a lot of the information that was out there. And I also agree with Jen. And all Democrats should go to Tennessee and follow their tactics. I mean, good Lord. The word delusion comes to mind. It was funny. Okay, I can't help it. How can you think that your side won here? I don't get it. Now, let me leave you with something positive, where Matt Walsh and the same individual that tried to show him up come together in solidarity for a common goal. Everybody have a great one. Remember to be kind to each other and don't be fooled.
So last week I had an amendment that, we're looking to protect children from abuse. And I also had an amendment to stop cosmetic surgery of rhinoplasty and breast enhancements to minors. How would you feel about that?
Sure.
Is that mutilation of children as well under the age of 18? They can't think for themselves?
Representative Mitchell, that's not on the bill that we have.
Yeah, it is. It's surgical. It's surgical.
I'm happy to answer that.
You're free to answer, Mr. Walsh.
Okay. My personal feeling about banning breast enhancements for minors? Yes, I would be all for, personally, I'd be all for banning that, absolutely.